This is the homework solution for page 20, numbers 38 to 47. All these problems ask us to find the value of x, then name the property that is used. Number 38. Number 38, 8 equals 8 plus x. Okay, x here, because there's already an 8 on the left and an 8 on the right. The x here is 0. When x is equal to 0, we call that the additive identity, because when we add 0, nothing changes. Number 39, 3.2 plus x equals to 3.2. Notice that there is a 3.2 on the left and a 3.2 on the right. Okay, already, so x here is 0. When x equals to 0, we call that the additive identity. Next, 40. 10x equals to 10. I notice that this is multiplication. 10 times x equals to 10, right? X is 1 here because 10 times 1 equals to 10, right? Notice how this is 10 and it becomes 10 on the right hand side, but this time we multiply and it is the same thing on the left side as it's to the right side, so we call that the multiplicative identity, right? I put multiply here, but you could call it the multiplicative identity. Next, 41. 41 is a fraction, but it behaves the same way. It is 1.2 times x equals to 1/2 times 7. Okay, this 1.2 and 1.2 on the left. Okay, here let me just, right, I could get rid of that. I can get rid of this. Do you see how it is just x equals to 7 here? So, okay, what we did is we multiplied the 7. When it looks the same thing on the left as it's on the right, we call that the reflex property. 42. 4.2 has x plus 0 equals to 5. There is a 0 on the left and a 5 on the right, so x, okay, has to be the value 5, because that's how we only get the right side as to a 5 as well. So here x equals to 5. Okay, we would call this one, when you add 0 to something and it becomes the same thing, we call that the additive identity. Good. 43. Okay. 1 times x equals to 3. Okay. So 1 times x equals to 3. So here, okay, notice how here for it to become 3, we have to have the x here as the value 3, because 1 times 3 equals to 3. Okay. So here x equals to 3. We call that the multiplicative identity, because we multiplied by 1. Okay, and 3 just became 3 because we only multiplied by 1. That identity of 3 stayed the same. 41. 41 has 5 times 1 over 5 equals 2x. Okay, you can treat this as a fraction if you want. Okay, multiplying across, you get the value of x equals to 1. Okay. When we make the value 1 by multiplying, we call that the multiplicative inverse. All right, when we make the value of 1 by multiplication, we call that the multiplicative inverse. Okay, which is different from the multiplicative identity. Okay. Next, 45. 45 has 2 plus 8 equals to 8 plus 2. Okay. Let me give you a visualization. Right, there is a plus 8 here, and there is an 8 here. So you could see that as x equals to 2. Okay. So x equals to 2. When it looks, right, let's look at it. Uh, it looks like this. It looks like the reflex property, right? Because the left-hand side equals to the right-hand side. But notice it was 2 plus 8. Then on the right-hand side, it's 8 plus 2, right? It's not the same. We call this the commutative property, okay? Because the 2 was first here, but now it's the 8, okay? They commuted. 46. 46 has this. Okay. X plus 3 over 4 equals to 3 plus 3 over 4. Okay. Let's just take this out because they're both on the left and right hand side. So we see that x equals to 3. Okay. So x was here's 3. You see how it's the same thing as on the left hand side and the same thing on the right hand side, and they're not flipped like the commutative property. When they look exactly the same and in the same order, we call that the reflex property. Okay. 47. 47 has 1/3 times x. Okay. To make the value of 1, what do we have to multiply to 1/3 here? We multiply the number 3. Okay. I could treat that as a fraction if you would like. Okay. The act of multiplying 3 by 1/3 to get 1, we call that the multiplicative inverse, because we made the value 1. Okay. That is called the multiplicative inverse. Okay. Be very careful about the difference between the multiplicative identity and the multiplicative inverse. The multiplicative identity is when you multiply by 1 to get the same element again, right? To get the same thing again. That's its identity. But when you make 1, right, it's called the multiplicative inverse. So that is the homework solution for page 20, numbers 38 through 47.